So Republicans helped create these oligarchs, and now they answer to them. We have Elon Musk and Vivek whether smarmy his name is, are now texting and negotiating with the Speaker of the House and Republicans and threatening them. Elon Musk is saying, if you guys vote for this CR, this continuing resolution, this spending package, um, I will make sure that you are primaried in the midterms, literally, and for senators whenever they're up for reelection. This is what he's doing because he can. And he knows that politics is about money. So even when you hear people say, "Oh, I vote on the issues," I don't let the money, it doesn't affect my vote. Yes, it does, because you tend to vote for candidates you've heard of, and if you don't have a lot of money as a candidate, or if your media market is particularly expensive, you're never going to be able to get the word out. So you do respond to the money. To claim that you don't means you just don't know that you're doing, because they do know how to manipulate you. Now, keep in mind that Trump is not president yet, that this continuing resolution keeps the government open, and that Elon Musk has not been elected to anything or appointed to anything. Neither has Vivek. Nothing. And they are creating an entirely new government agency to cut other government agencies in this Trump administration. Is a joke. It's also a sleight of hand. They're not going to be doing anything. This is just to find a way to put more money in the pockets of the oligarchs. The tax cuts are for the rich. The Trump tax cuts, as I said in a short video, that if you are a millionaire, you get like a $37,000 tax cut. But for everybody else, people that make 27,000 a year, 56,000 a year, 200,000 a year, your taxes are going to go up. Okay, so it is a lie when they say that everybody gets a tax cut. Only the rich get tax cuts. We've put up charts. Our friend Christopher Webb on Twitter has done this. So you, the little guy, are going to be paying for the tax cuts for the rich. And we have Elon Musk, an immigrant who's done very well. Of course, his family made their fortunes in the emerald mines with slave labor. He is a pro-apartheid. He's a white supremacist. We know that. Everything about him screams it. He's offensive. He's dangerous. He's evil, in my view. And he is now calling the shots in the House, literally threatening the Speaker of the House and others if they don't do his bidding on the CR. And Trump isn't even in office yet. And we sit here and act like nothing's happening. The only people who can do something from our side would be Democrats, and they're not doing anything. Merrick Garland, could still act, and there's all kinds of things. And we're just sitting here and letting it happen, pretending that it's not happening. Well, it is. Also, lawmakers, the House has voted itself a pay raise. They're complaining that they haven't had a pay raise in 15 years. So $174,000 is hard for them to live on. Well, it might be for some, because they do have to maintain 2 residences. DC is a very expensive city to live in. I lived there for 30 years, so I have an idea. It's very expensive. And it's also a fallacy that Hill staffers make a lot of money. So first of all, the minimum wage is what, $7.25, and it's been there for 15 years. So these Republicans in Congress think that's just fine for poor people to be poorer, as Trump's planned inflation, Trump and Elon Musk inflation, it will start. The tariffs are going to raise prices and everything. The Walmart chief executive has said they're going to continue to raise prices. So we know what's coming. And they ran on slamming what they were calling Biden's inflation. It wasn't his inflation. The Biden economy was excellent. Inflation was going down. And they're going to crash the economy. And they're saying they're doing that. Elon Musk, who I guess now calls the shots, said we're going to crash the economy in order to build it back up again. They're not going to build it back up again, folks. They want us weak, broke, sick, and scared. And it's working. and it's working. And they don't care that they're betraying MAGA. They don't care. And we all warned MAGA that they don't care. But here's the other thing. While these congressmen and women are going to be getting a raise, a pay raise, that's what they are voting for themselves. Um, I told you I was a Hill staffer. Unless you were the son or daughter of a rich contributor, you're hurting as a young Hill staffer. Now, some senior staffers do make decent coin. They make about what the elected officials do, but that really is just the top. The rest of us, and I eventually did reach the upper levels, but for years, uh, not being part of what we call the trust fund and pearls set, I had to live on a very small salary that was almost impossible to live on, was impossible to live on, in fact. And so did many of my friends. And that's because these members of Congress, while they're now giving themselves a pay raise and answering to oligarchs, they like paying their staff very little. They think it looks good. They like to turn money back into the treasury and brag to the folks back home that they've done so. Now, they're not going to do it with their own salary, right? They're not going to do that. So it's the little staffers that make almost nothing, that if you're not subsidized by wealthy parents or parents who have enough to help you out, you really are screwed. You're living on the ramen noodles. It's rough. We used to go to the receptions would be on Tuesday and Thursday nights, and at least that's when you would get some protein because they'd have shrimp or little chicken things or whatever, and you eat pretty well. So you literally had to have a strategy to survive working on Capitol Hill because they loved paying staffers very little because they thought it looked good to the folks back home. We paid the price for them to look good, as if anybody is really paying attention to if they're giving money back to the Treasury from their allotment, from their congressional office allotment that they're allowed, that they can spend up to a certain amount, hire up to a certain number of people. And some of them never wanted to, even if there were complaints back home about, well, what about these rich, DC staffers you have in your congressional offices? And then you explain to them the cost of living is extraordinarily high in Washington, DC. And many staffers are living at about the poverty level, if not below, or only just above, putting in a lot of hours. And these are people who are smart and hardworking and should be paid for their work. So that's a little trick that too many of these congressional offices do. And they think it's okay because, well, look, we got a couple of people here who are doing just fine. Yeah, because their daddies are rich contributors and can also subsidize them. And, so it becomes a situation where only the children of the rich parents can afford to work on Capitol Hill. So I don't have a problem with members of Congress getting cost of living raises, but they should only do it if they're also raising the minimum wage to a living wage and also taking care of the people that work for them instead of trying to get like a PR gold star for underpaying staffers. And I say this because I've had to live on those salaries, and it was hard, really hard. It was impossible, really. But this is what these members of Congress do. So they're now trying to give themselves a pay raise while keeping the minimum wage at starvation levels, but answering to Elon Musk, a bazillionaire, one of their oligarchs who is not an officer of the House or Senate or the Republican Party, is not an elected official, has not been appointed and confirmed to any official role in the upcoming administration. It is clearly and solely on the threat that he'll spend his vast fortune to defeat Republicans who don't bend to his will. And his will, I think is pretty clear by now, is whatever the will of Vladimir Putin is. It is insane that we hear about and see Elon Musk joined at the hip with the president-elect, but we barely see the actual vice president-elect, J.D. Vance. So if you're following along with this stuff, the Elon Musk making these demands and these threats is disturbing. Frankly, it's terrifying. He's very dangerous and he's very evil. Um, and these members of Congress wanting to vote themselves a pay raise while leaving minimum wage, the federal minimum wage at $7.25, and it hasn't been raised in 15 years. We're not the greatest country in the world, and we haven't been for a while, and it's because of this kind of crap that we're not. But I think it's important to watch this stuff, to watch what they do, watch what they say, and see who caves to Musk. Because, well, I don't want us to be shocked because we knew this was going to happen, the capitulation and the kissing of the ring and the obedience of the media and now Congress and Trump. And what foreign leaders now will have to soon answer to Elon Musk. These are dangerous, dangerous times, folks. They really are.